Hi, and welcome back. And we're talking about the challenges people face in business. What's today's challenge, John?
Today's challenge is managing the change of direction.
Wow. Stay right with us, and we'll be right back. Well, we're back out with John, talking about the challenges people face. And this is a great challenge. But what's this challenge you brought today?
Absolutely. It's about the whole dynamic of managing the change of direction that goes on in business. And businesses face this all the time because we are living in quite a disruptive world frame right now. So when we talk about managing the change of direction, it's almost in our face on a regular basis.
And these changes can be forced on us. I think this is one of the challenges.
Absolutely.
They're forced on us from other people and other environments. Just the economic environment, it just changes all the time.
It does change, and so we're not sure right now what robotics is going to do to business.
Yes.
So there's lots of robotics going on. So it used to be toys and children make them and all those kind of things, and it's great fun. But it's fascinating. It used to be just in the factories, robotics, and that changed. But this is actually going to impact every business.
I had the privilege of actually listening to a speaker on this, and one of his passions is robotics. But what he does, he takes people with these muscular dystrophy disorders. You know, when you see them, they're almost crippled out in their wheelchair. And he said, the problem is, it's an actual properly functioning real person in there.
Yes.
And they're just trapped.
Yes, correct.
With the robotics, he unlocks it by attaching the wires and the sensors, and obviously I'm not into that, so I don't know how he actually does it. Runs a computer. He's got these people driving cars.
Wow, fantastic.
Now that is empowering people.
Absolutely.
As such. So what he's gone, hey, now what disruption is that going to put into your business place when all of a sudden you go, I've got this really highly intelligent person.
Yes.
If I can make the facilities for them, what can they do in my workplace?
Absolutely. So we are facing that, and the word that we use now that in this whole word of change management is disruptive technology.
Yes.
So we're not talking about digital technology when we're talking about disruptive technology. We're just talking about any technology that comes into the marketplace that you're facing that disrupts the normal practice of events. And so we are facing that on a dramatic scale, and in its potential, like in the accounting world, that nearly all their compliance will be done overseas at a cheaper rate. So what are the accountants going to do? That's going to disrupt, because that's what they do. They do the tax and compliance, and they charge great fees, and importantly so, but it's going to disrupt that. Robotics is going to disrupt economies. I was watching, and they're practicing this now, law firms. They set up the tablets and the iPads, but of course you've got AI, artificial intelligence, that can listen to what is being said. Yes.
Now, doesn't matter how good you are, you're never going to beat a computer if it has to do research. So they're going, if it can listen to key words and key sentences and go find you the answers and the case studies, you could be a first-year law student. In fact, you might not even have any law graduate. It'll just hear it and put it on the screen and go, this is what you need to say to Her Honour or His Honour.
That's right, absolutely.
Wow.
So we've kind of painted a bit of a scary picture that disruptive technology, or how do we manage change, is happening in your world. How do you actually do that? What I want to say to you first is, be aware that is coming down the pipeline and is coming faster than you can anticipate. And you've got to be looking far as business owners and operators. You've got to be anticipating that whole dynamic. Let me illustrate it this way. In Australia, by 2030, 80% of all people employed will be what we call millennials. 80%. That's a massive move of moving a generation out of the workforce and putting a whole new generation into the workforce. And so as people, and I'll still be around in the next 10 years or so, maybe 10, 15 working. And so I've got to be aware of that whole dynamic, that people I engage with are potentially going to be millennial leaders, and they think entirely different, because I'm a boomer, a young boomer, but I'm a boomer.
Yeah. Two very young boomers
Yes,
here.
yes, absolutely. I think maybe in a figment of our imagination, but we have to be aware of that. So being aware in your world and in your business, manufacturing, retail, hospitality, interestingly in hospitality there's a new card that you're going to be able to load everything on it, all your cards on it, your hotel cards on it, waterproof. You can switch it on, switch it off, and you can carry it wherever with you. You don't need anything else, and that's going to disrupt the hospitality industry massively. Really amazing, and that's I've seen a couple of clips on it. It's really, really cool. So I want you to be aware, but that awareness is not sitting and saying, I'm aware. I want you to actually do some research. You need to be reading the business papers generally. You need to be reading into your industry. You need to be talking to your peak bodies that represent your industry and asking them really clear questions about what's going to be taking place in your world, because change is happening.
Now, we hear a lot from the tech companies like the Googles and so forth making time for experimentation. But I was actually chatting with a gentleman who used to work at IBM, and he was saying that you sign a contract with IBM. Now, I thought IBM was stuffy.
Mm-hmm.
They're very staid in their ways.
Very old.
In their contract, in his contract, he must spend 20% of his time, so on a 5-day week, that's a whole day, on a project not related to his field.
Wow, fantastic.
Forcing innovation.
Yes.
If I was doing the biggest takeaway I've ever learned in any of my businesses, and that is experimentation now, is the key. Not every experiment will work, will it, John?
No, once, no.
But we don't need every one of them to work.
No, we don't. It's like Thomas Edison only had needed to find one to work and had 20,000.
Yeah.
So it wasn't the matter of 20,000 experiments. It was finding the one that would work. So the light globe that we use, for a long, long time, even up till today, you can still buy an Edison type light globe. That happened because of experiments, and he found the one that worked. And it really is powerful to do. So how else do you manage change? There is a really interesting book to give you a very powerful picture about change management, and that is The Iceberg is Melting by Cotter. It's a parable, so it's a story about penguins and icebergs. I'm not going to give it away to you what it's all about. It's a very easy read, but it will give you some very powerful insights. So secondly, be aware. Secondly, research. So firstly, let me count my numbers right. Firstly, be aware. Secondly, research. Thirdly, read change management. And a really easy one to do is Cotter's book, The Iceberg is Melting. And watch the dynamic of what that will do to help you get the insights that you need about managing change in your environment. And when you get a hold of it and get confidence, I tell people now the very simple thing about change management or managing change that's happening is communication. Both giving communication and receiving communication, adjusting, then giving communication, receiving communication and adjusting, and giving communication. You can't communicate enough. And people like listening, people like to know, people like to be informed, very, very powerful. Yeah, so, this is, again, mate, I just love sharing about this, and there is much more to talk about.
There is.
So, Michael?
This is our series on managing those challenges in business, and we've talked about managing change and hopefully giving you a few pointers there. I think the thing about communication, as one little bonus, make sure you involve your team.
Absolutely.
Which is a big one of yours.
Absolutely, totally.
So, that's it. It's challenges businesses face. We've been talking about managing change. This is one of the big ones. And we hope you enjoy the rest that we're going to talk about in this series about challenges that businesses face. Thanks, John.
Thanks, Michael.